You're listening to Spokast Extra AF. I'm Andrea Williams, and I'm sitting here with
Brennan Pointer
and
Nate Martin.
Thanks for joining us on our new little mini cast series. These will be coming out once a month, and the three of us are going to sit down and we're going to have many thoughts on many things in regards to Spokane. So grab a chair, pour yourself a drink, and thanks for joining in on the conversation at Spokast Extra AF.
Ryan goes, "You owe me cereal. The painting was not inspired by Steve-O, and you pronounce massacre. LOL." And I was like, yes, and yes.
Did we talk about this on the podcast?
Yeah.
Did I say it? Like
you were the one that was like, it looks like Steve-O, and I'm like, no. And then I think like you brought up like the fact that you still owe him cereal because his paint didn't sell.
But it did sell, actually.
It did sell. It just didn't
after
sell
the
at
fact.
Terrain. It sold because of Terrain, but it didn't sell at Terrain.
Yeah, that's a gray area.
And then I do realize, it's massacre, but I say massacre.
Massacre?
I say massacre.
Where did that come up?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, well, I'm glad his piece sold.
What an interesting story. I was on the edge of my seat watching his Instagram stories.
Same, it was so great.
I was like, what's going to happen next?
Hey, Link. Link and Ivy.
Wait, Ivy.
Do you want to come say something to the mic? No?
Yeah, come say hi.
You want to come say hi in the mic? Come say hi in the mic. Link.
Link, you want to say hi?
I'll let you listen to yourself. You want to listen to yourself?
It's like the Greatest Showman goes on the microphone. Do you guys want to do that? Yes. Okay. Link's having a hard time with his glove right now.
Okay.
It's okay, buddy. I have hard
Link
times
is
with my glove,
indisposed
too.
at the moment. He's unable to come to the mic.
Link is also wearing shorts, and it's 35 degrees outside.
I took him
Solid
outside,
choice.
and I was like, "Are you?" He was like, I'm sure you do not want to change." And he's like, "It's sunny outside," and I'm like, "No," like, and I picked him up, and we like walked out your front door, and he was like, "I'm like, I can see my breath," and he was like, "It's fine." He's like, "I'm gonna wear sneakers." I'm like, "All right, you do you, shorts and sneakers. It's 30 degrees outside."
Yeah, that's how we do it. I mean, they think that if it's sunny outside, that means we get to go to the lake. So
Spoiled.
my kids are stupid, basically.
No, they're not.
I'm just joking. My kids aren't stupid. They're 4
I
years
mean,
old.
I think, like, oh, if it's sunny, I get to go to the lake too. But like, I have this thing like work and I don't have a lake place, minor details.
So I don't know if we're recording if we're going to keep all this, but we might. So if you have been listening, thank you for listening to this beginning of the show. We are recording at our house, my house. It's Saturday on November 2nd. And I wanted to bring Spokast together because we haven't done a show actually in about 2 weeks. I know we had a show come out about a week ago, an Extra AF show. But today we're going to bring you an extra special AF show.
Is it an extra AF show?
It's called Extra Special AF.
Extra.
We have to have... we have a lot of different titles for our shows.
Yeah.
Episodes.
This is like an after school special, like basically.
After school. But it's like a early Saturday morning brunch special.
Yeah, it's like Saturday morning cartoons.
You and Abby made us breakfast. It was so great.
Abby made us breakfast.
Abby made us 2 kinds of quiche. We had mimosas and coffee. We've got everything going on right now.
We do.
Chocolate
I mean,
milk.
I know it's hard to believe, but we all have jobs, and it's been really difficult to coordinate schedules between vacations and people being sick, and just
It is.
like,
I tell people that's the one thing.
it's
I'm
really
like,
hard.
I'm like, I think, like, I tell all these, like, I want to have you on the podcast. We'd love to have you on the podcast. You should be on the podcast. And then it's like, well, when are we doing it? And I'm like, well.
In the next 3 months, we have one day that we can all get together. So we have to record 8 episodes.
But it's good. I think we're recording 3 this month, right?
At least 3.
Hopefully
yeah,
more.
Hopefully more.
more.
Now that it's like winter, Nate is going to Mexico.
Yeah.
So
Can't
he's going to
wait.
soak up the sun.
I'll rep Spokast in Mexico.
Yes. I don't think I have any more vacations this year. Do you? After Mexico?
Mexico, and then I am taking my best friend to Vegas for his birthday.
Wow.
And we're gonna
nice.
go see Christina Aguilera.
Oh,
that'll be
that'd
amazing.
be fun.
I'm
That'll be
excited
really
for that.
fun.
It's not a surprise. He knows about it.
Okay, yeah. Don't listen to
He doesn't
him.
listen to this anyway.
Oh, that's
He
rude.
does. He does. He's actually critiqued me many times.
Oh,
He's very good at it.
Oh, hi, Betty.
yeah, that's not gonna work.
Well, at least my dog doesn't bark during the show.
Let me just hide her. I'm gonna hide my chihuahua. 1 second. You guys talk amongst yourself.
Oh my gosh.
I hope you can hear that.
Yeah, that's really good. We got cold open with the barking chihuahua.
Yeah, we should do that. Cold open with the barking chihuahua.
No, we've been talking about everything we're gonna be talking about.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We're going to...
Well, I'll edit this out.
No.
Maybe. Were you guys talking amongst yourself? What did I
We
miss?
were laughing
We were
at you
just
because you
laughing.
could hear, like, get in the room.
Yeah, it was really funny.
That's how I was talking to my kids.
Get in your room.
We had to lock them up in their bedrooms. Like we have that outside lock on the door, so they can't get out. It's very safe.
Creepy.
Jesus, he's kidding,
I'm
everyone.
I'm joking.
No one call CPS.
But yeah, so we're getting together for an extra special AF show to talk about the general elections that are coming up
Yeah.
on November 5th here in Spokane, and it's a doozy. It's a big one, and I'm going to
deal.
preface this with saying we are not going to talk about who we're voting for. We want to keep the show bipartisan for the most part. We want to appeal to everyone to listen to the show. We don't want to turn anyone off, so we're not going to say who we're voting for. If you want to message me, I'll tell you who I'm voting for.
Yeah, same.
Or if you want
Same.
to follow me on my Instagram, Digital Craftsman, you'll probably find out who I'm voting for there.
Yeah.
But the podcast is about Spokane. It's
Right.
not about it's about everybody in the city. So we want to
How long was 8 years?
8 years.
Mayor David Condon?
I don't know.
That's a great question.
He did
I
have
feel
2
like-
terms, which
Yeah.
is he's the first mayor and ages have 2 terms.
I think it might even. I feel like it might have even been longer than. No, I don't think it can be longer than 8. This is me showing my not necessarily up to date information.
I think the one thing I will say
voting
about
in
my
elections.
my political I'm not entrenched in political stuff. I kind of follow here and there what's going on.
Same.
But I do find voting in our general elections very important. And part of the reason why we started Spokast is so we can be, bring a podcast that's, about Spokane and about what's going on in Spokane. And we felt that it wouldn't be right to not have had a podcast.
This is a big deal for Spokane.
Yeah. Not have a podcast about the elections.
I do have one little. Did you find out when it was?
He's been in office for 8 years.
Yeah, it is 8 years. Yeah, I do have one funny, kind of connection to our mayor. Wow. First of all, I think he's really funny. When he's talking, and public events, I think he's hilarious. But I got to introduce him as the mayor of City Spokane publicly for the first time.
Oh,
I did.
You introduced
on
them.
a stage. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was for first night. It was on New Year's Eve, and it was one of his big first city events. And I don't know if it was the first. And I was so nervous I was going to say his last name wrong. Because clearly, and I was like, okay, you're on stage, you're going to be in front of a couple hundred people, don't fuck it up. And I didn't. But at the time, his kids were so little, and it's been really, it's crazy to see now and think back then.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Condon, for your 8 years of service to Spokane. I feel like Spokane in the last 8 years has
Gotten amazing.
gotten amazing, and
It's
I
been pretty good so far.
and I imagine that our mayor is a big part of that, and that's part of this election is that there's the mayor. I cannot say this word. Mayoral.
Mayoral.
Maybe yeah.
Mayoral.
Mayoral.
Maybe Ryan can message us and let me know how to say that
Ryan,
correctly.
Mr. Tucker.
He's gonna he should just be like a co-host. We talk about him every cast.
We'll have him on every 4 weeks.
Yes.
That'd be great.
That'd be really great. Ryan, let's talk about that.
I will say, I've been here for 13 years, and the last 5 years or so has been pretty, the growth has been kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. And, I've really noticed it, at least. I feel like I have anyway. So
yeah, no, I have noticed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're here to talk about today is about voting and,
your civic duty.
Yeah, getting out there and voting. I think, I wish I had the stats in front of me, but I think the last couple special elections, we've had a very low voter turnout. And and I just want to tell you, if you're listening to this podcast and you live in Spokane County, go and vote. If you live in Spokane Valley, go and vote. We all have very important things to be voting on, whether it's referendums, whether it's mayors, whether it's city council. As a democracy, we are, we're here to as private citizens, we are allowed and given the freedom to vote for who we want to. And so I would say, if you're listening, you probably have your ballot in your mailbox. Go fill that out, mail it in by November 5th. And Andrea will tell you how to get your
ballot.
Moved.
Yeah. First of all, even when I've gotten my ballot in the mail, it's my favorite thing to do is to go down to our elections office, on election day, even presidential election. I have just clear memory of Obama and of Trump and Hillary. And you walk down there and it's a shit show. There's no parking and there's a million people and they've got all this stuff and it's so exciting. Really, the actual dropping off your ballot is just putting your ballot in the box. But then you get your sticker, the I voted sticker, and it's just really cool. It just feels so much more official than putting it in the mail. So y'all should do that. Anyhow, I moved, so I didn't get my ballot in the mail this year. And it's really easy if you're I haven't gotten a ballot in the mail, Brian, what are you talking about? There's no ballot in my mailbox. Monroe and Gardner is the office, and you just either have someone drop you off or bring change, because it's really funny. The parking lot is metered, which is so silly. It is
take
odd.
a lift.
Take a lift, bike, Lime.
STA.
Yeah, it is. And it's really small too. But anyhow, you get to go, and they have painted on the little walkway walking up to the building. They have these red, white, and blue footprints. So you know which building to go to. It's next to the public defender's office. And you just can go in and, have your driver's license and your, date of birth. Hopefully you know that. And then they're able to, you fill out, I had to fill out a form saying I had moved. But then you just get a ballot right there. And they have stacks of your voter pamphlets. And you can just actually fill out your ballot there. It's so cool. Do you guys have memories of going, my dad would take me when he went to go vote at the elementary school, and they had the little suitcases that had legs, and then they folded. Oh, they opened
We
this
did that
way.
in high school.
Yeah, and so
Brennan.
It's a telemarketer. Man, this is
Why isn't your phone on silent?
I don't, because it's a new phone.
Seriously.
I got a new iPhone 11.
Ooh, put it on silent. It has 2 cameras. The new one has 3. Okay, sorry, sidetracked. Anyhow, you go and I just remember waiting and being well, first of all, as a kid, I'd be why are we here? This is so boring. But I kind of wish that was still a thing, because it's exciting. I just totally can picture the room and the lines of the little stands and the lights, and you have to punch them too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fucking legit. They should bring that back. Anyhow, they have 2 of those.
No, they shouldn't.
They should.
I would never vote vote if
least-
that was the way.
I mean, like, like this as an option, like, like, hey, like you didn't get your ballot in the mail, like come on down to Lewis and Clark High School in our gymnasium, and we'll anyhow.
Yeah.
But it's super easy, and they have 2 of those there, so you can vote there, or you can just take your ballot and you can take it home and vote. I brought my ballot with me today, so I could fill it out. I also brought us I voted stickers because.
Awesome.
I did vote.
So, so you mentioned the voters pamphlet. If you don't have time to go get a voters pamphlet, Nate, where can you go and find out more about everything that you're voting on?
So yeah, I mean, you can definitely go to the voting center. That's an option. There's actually a website where you can do all of it. You don't have to go anywhere if you're not able to make it to the election center.
Can you vote online?
You cannot vote online, but you can you can request a new ballot.
Gotcha.
You can update your address, all of that stuff. The website is called My Vote Washington. You can Google search that, or you can go to the website voter.votewa.gov, and that will take you to the Washington State election site. And it just needs your first and last name, and then your date of birth. And then it will pull up your voter registration and make sure you just like that it's you. And then you click the menu button, and there is you can find the voter's guide. It'll give you the location of voting centers. You can request a new ballot. You can see if your ballot's been counted, which is and accepted, which is very important because there have been a few times where my signature didn't match my voter registration and my ballot was never counted.
Oh.
So you really need to make sure that you've checked to see that your ballot's been accepted. And because if it hasn't, you need to take care of that before
Election
the
day.
election day, because they might not. I never got notification until after the election was over. This was a long time ago, but it's nice to know that, and you can update your voter registration and stuff like that as well.
Can you print? Actually, now that I think about this, last year I printed out a ballot at the office.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
You might be able to.
yeah, no, I totally did. I printed out a ballot and I filled it out because I was like, I didn't get my ballot because I had moved actually last year, and this is all coming back to me now. It's all coming back. Anyhow, I
yeah.
printed it out, and then I put it in an envelope, and then I took it down, and I was like, will this work?
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
checked my voter ballot status, and it said my ballot was sent to me on the 3rd of October, and I returned it on the 22nd, and it has been accepted.
Woo,
So now I know my vote will be counted. So that's cool.
That's really cool, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You send your ballot in, and you're like, where does it go?
Yeah, where
does
does it
get
go?
counted?
Goes
Oh, I
goes
know.
in Narnia.
And then you can actually, like, on election day, you can check it again to see when your ballot's actually been counted as well.
awesome.
Cool.
That's really cool.
I was thinking they do tours. We should have done a tour. They do a tour at the elections office. You can
that'd be cool.
get signed in and watch and see everyone counting. And I was reading all of it took a few minutes to get the ballot, but I was reading like their little check-in, don't wear political things, put your phone away, be quiet in the sorting room. And it even had like a little, take your nap elsewhere. So maybe some senior citizens. I'm assuming it's a lot of senior citizens that volunteer.
That's fair.
That's
fallen
funny.
asleep. I just thought it was funny.
That's really funny. I was gonna ask. Do you guys have any good like stories about like voting, voting stories? Like I have a couple, but do you guys have any? Like you mentioned your dad, but like anything that strikes to mind?
The only thing I can really think of is in the 2016 election, which was hotly like it was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
I actually went to caucus for the first time for the presidential election. And that was quite the experience to like go and, because my whole voting life, it's always been vote by mail. And so I've never really participated in anything necessarily other than like some volunteering and stuff like that I've done for candidates. But it was a cool, like you stand in line and like you say who you want to, put your support for. And then people get nominated to like be like the representative. And it was quite the experience. It took a lot. It was an all day kind of thing. But I think during that
That's
was the only time I've ever done it. But and you can like look up all of the areas where you caucus for your district and stuff like that online, so you know where to go. But it definitely expects to take hours and hours of your time, but it's one of the biggest ways that you can really influence such a large election, because once you get your primary candidates, you can only vote, I mean, you can obviously write in, but you only have a couple options. And so you really get to influence who you want. And so that was kind of a really cool experience. And the energy is really
that sounds
exciting.
That sounds super.
It's hard because
cool.
it's not really accessible to people, just because it's usually during the workday. And it takes a lot of time. You have to have a lot of free time to do it. I stood in line for a long time, and but I will definitely be doing it again next year for sure.
That's awesome.
That's great. I was gonna. You mentioned going to vote like in a public place.
Yeah, like I never got to vote. I was a small child, but I just remember like my dad. Like it was so cool. It was. I mean, not when I was a kid, but now looking back on it.
My first election after I turned 18 was the 2004 elections, when it was George W. Bush and oh my gosh, I can't.
Gore?
Not Gore. The guy who ran against. I mean, kind of had sleepy eyes. I cannot think of his name. This is terrible, but it's not.
I know who you're talking about. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
Anyways, I lived on 7th Avenue, like downtown Spokane. Carey.
John
Carey. And I went down.
Sleepy eyes.
He has like tired eyes.
He does. You're right.
But I went down to like the VFW on like 5th Avenue downtown.
Yeah.
And voted in like a little booth, and
the booth was still there.
I think that might have been one of the last elections.
That's so cool. And that was your first presidential?
That was my first presidential. I got to go to a place and vote. And then 4 years later, it was Obama versus Kerry, and I think me and our friends, the Christian and Kaylee Woods, came over, and everyone was kind of assuming that Obama was going to win, and we were kind of having a party at our house, and we like popped champagne when Obama won, and I remember like kind of crying a little bit. Like it was definitely
that was my first presidential election.
That was your first. Oh, that's a good one.
I had to work that night. I had to work a Tuesday ice skating thing. Working in radio, I did all sorts of crazy things, but I was emceeing a skate night at the Ice Palace.
That's awesome.
And I remember like tuning in. Listening while I was working for the race, of course, I was listening to 590 KQNT and listening. But like that moment that he won, it was so exciting. I remember like getting on the microphone and being like, "Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that was happening."
That was a pretty cool night. But yeah, I mean, I think those like being able to go vote and like those types of, the outcome of them, like whether it's good or bad, like really, shit like makes me like excited about voting. Like this election, like. Is very big in Spokane and kind of will help shape the next 4 years of our city and our city council, and I think it's very important for our community to get out there and tell the community who they want to be their mayor.
Do we know if there's anything going on Tuesday night?
I mean, there's definitely election parties. Every candidate will have, a watch party and stuff like that
I know.
As well. But.
So, I mean, I do know that Ben Stuckert is having his party at Lucky You Lounge.
Oh, really?
Oh, awesome.
And so
that would be really fun.
And so that's happening on Tuesday. I'm not sure where, like Nadine Woodward's is happening. There's just a lot of, there's a lot of stuff going on around Spokane. And I'm sure you could get on Facebook events and find where everything's happening at, so definitely find that out, and
I think a lot of the local bars will have watch parties as well.
Absolutely.
I think 9 almost always has a watch party. Don't quote me on that, but I think they do. You could probably find it on their Facebook or something.
Oh man, I do remember. Unfortunately, it's not like a great voting memory, but we had a watch party for Trump and Clinton, Hillary, and And I remember like someone joked at the beginning, like we were just like, there's no way that Trump's gonna win. Like this isn't gonna happen. Like we wouldn't even have to watch it. And then like 40 minutes later, like the panic like set in, and then it was just like the most depressing, sad like night. We were just like, oh my God. Like
I just went and took an Ambien and went to sleep at 8 o'clock. And then I just woke up the next day to, that. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was getting my hair cut actually that day. I was I don't remember where I was working at the time. Oh, I was working for the wood shop.
Yeah.
And I was driving in, like I've been watching the election results, or been, they start coming in around like 4 o'clock Pacific time, and in the back of my mind I was just like, no, this can't happen.
right, that's what I mean. Like we were like, there's no way.
And then it started happening.
Yeah.
And then I'm just
know.
like, okay, well, there's no way he's gonna
He
win
can
this
turn it around.
state.
Yeah.
He won that state, and then he won this state, and he won that state. I'm just like, and by the time, like Nate was saying, like 8 o'clock, like it's just like it's over. Like you knew it.
Yeah.
And like,
That's
and
sad.
it was another, we watched the elections with our friends, like pretty much every year or every, big general election, and it was just like, it had gone from like a kind of a party to like being like, wow, this is crazy. Like this is really, really crazy. Which just shows that, it's important, to vote.
And, I remember having friends that were like, oh, I didn't vote in that election, or I burned my ballot. And I'm like, that makes you a fucking idiot. Like, that's not cool. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you think like you're like protesting, or like, no, like you need to vote.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like you, like not voting in protest is probably the dumbest thing that you could do.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, get out there and vote. And I think that's pretty much all we'll say about that.
I mean, there's lots of ways to affect change, and you can volunteer, you can help and give money to the candidates, you can, go to rallies, stuff like that. But, the biggest way really to affect change is to get out and vote. And of course, presidential elections are very important, but local politics is the
So, that's
best
our
way
city.
to affect change, because on a local level, there's so much control about what happens on your daily life. And so a lot of times, like what is considered an off-year election, like this year, people don't really vote because they think it's not important, but really it's the most important. This is going to affect people on a very micro level, which has a big effect. And so if you're not voting in your local elections because you think they're not important, you're wrong. So just get out there and do it. And I always kind of think, if you have an opinion and you're not out there voting, and you're not participating in by supporting your candidates, volunteering for them, giving them money, your time, whatever it may be, like you really shouldn't be voicing your opinion, because you're not actually doing anything to affect change.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So shut the fuck up
And vote.
and vote.
Oh, I like that. Shut the fuck up
Shut
and
the
vote.
fuck up and vote.
So yeah. Anyhow.
I like that. Thank you, Nate. That's
Yeah.
great.
So I'm gonna fill out my ballot now.
Yeah, let's do it. I will say, as always, thank you guys so much for listening. We've gotten so much feedback from people about listening to the show, and we still love it when you guys can connect with us on Instagram, or on emailing us at hello@spokast.com. And of course, following us on Instagram is the best way of keeping track. We've been kind of dead for the last week on there. We're going to get back into it. I'm going to make some plans on staying up to date on that. Other than that,
Oh, should we tease our special?
we have another special.
gosh.
We're coming up on 420 followers on
Instagram.
on Instagram, which isn't a very big milestone or anything like
Hey,
that.
it's a big milestone.
But I will say, we have very engaged followers.
Oh,
on
for sure,
Instagram
yeah.
for having such a small following.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a lot of engagement.
That's some pure organic gold.
And so once we hit that goal, we plan to record another extra AF, and it's going to be called High AF. And we're
Extra
gonna
high AF.
and we're gonna possibly bring in a local.
That's the goal.
a
If you work at a recreational marijuana shop or you're a grower, it would be fun to talk to someone about this. We need to get that scheduled.
Yeah, we do. And the plan is that we're
gonna get high.
We're gonna smoke a little. We're not getting super high. I mean, we're gonna
I'm
smoke
gonna
a
get
little.
super high.
Get
You think I laugh a
I'm
lot
gonna have an
now?
edible.
So do it like an hour before we record.
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
I've never
before
had
we
an
record.
edible.
Really?
Really?
I'm very nervous about it.
Oh man. Well, don't eat that. We can talk about this on that episode.
But yeah, we're gonna get a little high. We're gonna do a little podcasting, and we're gonna talk about marijuana.
So get us to 420 followers on Instagram so that we can release that episode.
Yeah.
What are we at right now?
We're close.
We're
We're, like
almost to
390.
400.
We're almost to 400. We're only 20 away. So like we might need to record this next week.
Definitely.
Well, you're going to Mexico, so that doesn't really work. But
When we get back.
when you get back, but we'll do it once we hit 420. We'll get it done. We're gonna do a high AF podcast, and that should be fun to listen to.
Someone just followed us 2 hours ago.
Nice.
We're at 394
Heather,
followers.
thanks for the follow.
Yeah, thank you guys, and please keep on listening. Share it with your friends. Review us on iTunes. And
Shut the fuck up and go vote.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Spokast.
We actually did it that time.
Good job.
Keep up with us at spokast.com. That is SPOKAST. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Spokast Podcast.
This podcast has been brought to you by Spokast Productions. Produced by Brennan Pointer, Andrea Williams, and Nate Martin. Original music composed by San Silvis. Thank you for listening.